I have been with Lucas for 5 years. Later, someone accused me of interfering in someone else's relationship. Even his rumored girlfriend's fans threatened me with knives. What upset me the most was, one time, Lucas walked towards me with that rumored girlfriend. They acted as if they didn't see me. I saw that man was agitated. He was waving a knife in his hand. He sheltered his rumored girlfriend and hid from a distance. He didn't let anyone hurt her. Then he just left. That night, his rumored girlfriend posted a photo of them kissing, with the caption, "Lucas insisted I post this." So shy. I turned off my phone. I sent a message to my mom. "Mom, I have made up my mind. I'll come back next month for blind dates. Sophia, I'm glad you can think this through. I always felt that Lucas wasn't right for you." On the phone, my mom was so happy that her voice got higher. Just after hanging up the phone, Lucas just arrived. He sits across from me, across the table. I can smell his cologne from here. He used to date me. He was never late. You've been more than half an hour late for the past month. He still has the scent of cologne on him. Did you just call your aunt? He was messaging someone while asking me. He didn't even look at me once. I took a sip of water. I said calmly, "I'm going back to do blind dates next month. I just told my mom about it." He nodded with his head down. He didn't say anything. I smiled. He's still the same as before. He didn't really listen to what I was saying at all. If it were in the past, I would definitely have argued with him. But this time, I really couldn't hold on any longer. I took out my phone to message my mom, to tell her my requirements for the blind date. At that moment, the waiter brought the dishes over. He saw that I didn't order his favorite black truffle beef tenderloin. That's when Lucas finally spoke up. He said the man who scared you with a knife yesterday was just a crazy fan of Emily's. Emily has already informed her agent about this. He reminded me to be careful when going out in the future. Don't let anyone follow you again. He looked at me with a furrowed brow. His tone was a bit urgent. I was talking to my mom. I didn't even look up. I just casually replied, "Oh, yesterday afternoon when I went out, a man I didn't know kept following me. He cornered me against the wall. Waving a knife, he yelled at me emotionally. His voice was trembling. He told me not to disturb Lucas and Emily's relationship anymore. Otherwise, he would take action against me." I was really scared at that moment. I felt like I was about to have a heart attack. Seeing that I had no reaction, Lucas tapped the table. He was about to ask me who I was talking to. At that moment, his phone rang. This was a ringtone specifically set for Emily. He smiled slightly. He got up and walked outside. A message popped up on the phone. "She just posted a kissing photo last night. Today, she posted a photo of us holding hands." The caption reads, "Love you the most, Lucas. We originally planned to have dinner today, but instead, she accompanied me to the mall early. She even bought a bunch of vegetables. So annoying. She clearly knows I'm on a diet, yet she insists on buying so many snacks to tempt me. Given that you gave me a necklace, I suppose I can reluctantly forgive you." Lucas replied below, "I was wrong. I'll take you out for a late-night snack." Many fans commented that it's so sweet. I closed the page. My mom sent me profiles of several blind date candidates. Lucas hasn't come home since he answered the phone. Later, when I got home, I found he was already inside. There was a box on the table. I bent down to grab it. Lucas suddenly got anxious. He jumped up and snatched the box away, talking about it. "Don't you dislike wearing these accessories?" He looks very uneasy. I suddenly understood. This necklace must have been given to Emily. I smiled slightly. "Say it. I don't want to wear it, but that doesn't mean I don't like it." Lucas's expression darkened. He tightly held the necklace box in his hand. "Say it. You never told me. How could I possibly guess?" I stood up. I handed him a bag. I saw an old pair of stockings from the sofa. Lucas took it. His expression changed. He opened his mouth. It seemed he wanted to say something. Seeing me so tired, I closed my eyes. He said he would pay attention in the future. After saying that, he went to the kitchen to make a diet meal for Emily. He saw that I was too tired. He asked if he should cook me a bowl of noodles as well. I have been with Lucas for 5 years. Only back when we first started dating. I'm on my period and my stomach hurts. He once made me a bowl of brown sugar water. Since then, he hasn't stepped into the kitchen again, but Emily wants to lose weight, so he goes to the kitchen every day to make her diet meals. I opened my eyes. I saw Lucas busy in the kitchen. I couldn't help but laugh. I just fell asleep on the sofa. When I opened my eyes, Lucas had already prepared Emily's diet meal. He quickly changed his shoes. He said Emily was waiting. There was no time left. Make it for me next time. After saying that, he closed the door and left. The next day when I got to the office, I noticed my colleagues were looking at me strangely. It was all curiosity. A female colleague who's on good terms with me told me about the incident where Emily's fans threatened you with a knife. It's trending now. Everyone is blaming me for knowing the other person was in a relationship and still interfering. While I was in the bathroom, I overheard two colleagues discussing quietly outside the door. Has Emily officially gotten together with Lucas? Not yet, but I heard they are dating. Didn't you see the video? Emily was just told something inappropriate by a guy on set. Lucas completely ignored the fact that there were many people around. He just went up and kicked that guy to the ground. He even punched him several times. Another female colleague asked her, are they about to make their relationship public? What about Sophia from our company? Didn't she post about being with Lucas on her social media? That should be fake. I coldly took out my phone. I deleted the pinned post about my relationship with Lucas. When I got home from work, I saw a bowl of seafood porridge on the table. Lucas took my bag. He asked, somewhat unhappily, why haven't you replied to my messages all day? I took out my phone. I opened the chat page with her. He only sent me one sentence. Can I eat seafood porridge while on a diet? 2 years ago when I was on a diet, I once acted cute to Lucas. I asked him to buy me a bowl of seafood congee. At that time, I was craving it so much. He impatiently pushed me away. With a look of annoyance, he said, aren't you on a diet? Why drink congee? To buy a bowl of congee, you have to run all the way to the west side of the city. It's too much trouble. Just bear with it. Right now. I didn't say anything, but Lucas bought me a bowl of congee. I didn't touch that bowl of congee. I went straight to take a shower. Lucas asked from behind, didn't you keep saying you wanted to drink it? I didn't stop walking. I don't want to drink it now. After finishing my shower, I saw Lucas cooking. Emily just posted a new update. I just casually mentioned wanting seafood congee. Lucas immediately went to buy it for me, but I'm on a diet now. How am I supposed to diet like this? She specifically mentioned Lucas. Lucas left a comment below. It's all my fault, little princess. I'll buy it for you when you want to drink. Is that okay? Fans excitedly commented that it's too sweet. I put down my phone. I went upstairs to organize my luggage. Lucas called me. He asked if I could eat eggs while dieting. I ignored him. He came upstairs. Leaning against the door, he watched me organize my clothes. With a puzzled look, what are you doing? The house will have a cleaning lady come to clean. You don't need to worry about it. I didn't respond. I continued to pack my clothes. Lucas saw that I wasn't saying anything. He slammed the door shut. He glared at me angrily. He said impatiently, just because I cooked for Emily the other day. I didn't cook for you. You gave me a hard time. Sophia, I really dislike people like you who are so affected. That's all. He slammed the door and left. I've been in a relationship with Lucas for 5 years. We've had many arguments. Each time, I was the one to admit my mistakes first. I begged for his forgiveness. But this time, I really can't take it anymore. Whatever. Lucas slept in the guest room for a night. I didn't go to comfort him. In the morning, I made 2 breakfasts as usual. After Lucas got up, he walked up to me. He looked down at me. His tone was firm. Sophia, take the day off today. Before 8 o'clock tonight, make me a plum cake. Since being with Lucas, every year on his birthday, I make him a plum cake. When he sits next to me eating, I accidentally saw a message that Emily had just sent him. Emily said she wanted to try the plum cake I made. Lucas sent her a voice message saying, okay, babe, I will definitely have her make it before 8 tonight. I looked at him. The living room suddenly fell silent. It was quiet enough to hear a pin drop. Lucas understood. I only make him plum cakes on his birthday every year. He moved his lips, trying to explain something, but I nodded and agreed directly. Okay, I'll ask for a leave later. That night 5 years ago, if it weren't for Lucas, that guy who caused trouble while drinking kept bothering me. I almost got into trouble. After finishing this plum cake, Lucas and I would have nothing to do with each other again. I was just about to leave. He suddenly called out to me. My hand was on the doorknob. I didn't turn around. I stared at the door and asked him, "Is there anything else? You don't have to pay for the groceries. I've already transferred the money to you via WeChat," he said lightly. I only opened my phone after I walked out the door to refund the money back. We've been together for 5 years. Lucas rarely takes the initiative messages me. I have sent him 7,356 messages. He only replied to me 53 times. Lucas was changing his shoes at the door. He heard the notification sound for the 10,000 yuan being refunded. He seemed a bit distracted. His lips were tightly pressed together. At 6 in the evening, he messaged me asking, "Where are you? I just got off work." I didn't answer directly. I asked him back, "Is there something?" He just wanted to tell you. "Your osmanthus cake tastes great." On the phone, his voice was very gentle. I hadn't spoken yet. Emily snatched the phone. She sweetly said, "Sophia's sister, your osmanthus cake is really delicious. I suddenly wanted to eat osmanthus cake today." I casually mentioned it to Lucas' brother, who knew. He immediately asked you to make it for me. "Sophia's sister, your skills are really good. I can't even make osmanthus cake. I can only wait for others to make food for me," she said pitifully. Soon she invited me to her new play's celebration banquet. After all, I specially made her some plum blossom cake. Lucas said coldly, "You don't need to come." He hung up the phone. Before hanging up, I could still hear Emily acting cute towards him, asking him why he wouldn't let me go. Half an hour later, Lucas sent me a message, inviting me to the wrap party. He also asked me to brew some ginger tea at home. He said Emily got her period, worried that her stomach might be uncomfortable. I knew the message was sent by Emily, but half an hour later, I still went. Lucas was helping Emily avoid drinks. When he saw me, the smile on his face immediately faded. Emily greeted me with a smile. "Sister-in-law, you came. I thought you wouldn't come." Lucas glared at me, angrily said, "I told you not to come. Did you not understand?" Emily hurriedly explained, "Brother Lucas, it was me who asked Sister Sophia to come, because I have stomach pain during my period. That's why I asked her to bring me ginger tea." Emily looked a bit sad. Lucas held her hand. He softly comforted her, telling her to make sure to let herself know next time she has stomach pain. "Don't push yourself. I'm too lazy to watch them be affectionate in front of me." He turned and walked away. Just as he turned to leave, Lucas shook off Emily. He grabbed my hand. His expression was dark. His expression was complicated. "Sophia, why are you not arguing this time?" In the past, when Lucas was too close with others, I would always have a big fight with him. This time, Emily made me uncomfortable directly. I neither shouted nor made a scene. I said nothing. Lucas tightened his grip a bit. He held my hand tightly. When he touched my index finger, he immediately withdrew his hand as if electrocuted. He felt the cut on my hand from accidentally slicing myself while making rice cakes. His expression became complex and hard to describe. She might have thought he disliked physical contact with me. Emily suddenly noticed the silver bracelet I was wearing. She happily said, "Hey sis, I've seen that silver bracelet before." That day I stayed at Lucas's house. I saw a similar one in his bathroom trash can. I looked at Lucas. He seemed a bit uneasy. He hid his hands behind his back. I calmly said, "This thing can be bought for a few $100. If you want it, I can send you the link." Emily said she wouldn't go. As soon as I left the private room, I took off the silver bracelet from my wrist. I stuffed it into my bag. That was when we had just been dating for a year. My grandmother came to visit me. She specifically bought us this bracelet. At that time, my grandmother said, "Wearing it will bring good luck. It can also attract wealth." Unfortunately, her wish didn't come true. In the end, Lucas and I were like this. When I went downstairs, my mom called to ask if I had bought the tickets. Lucas suddenly asked me from behind, "What are you going to buy?" My mom wants me to go home and see her, I answered calmly. Lucas didn't say anything more. "It's not safe for you to go home alone at night. I'll take you home." After he said that, he directly took my hand and walked to the car. After getting home, Lucas immediately went to the study to work. I was playing on my phone in the bedroom. I fell asleep after playing until midnight. When I got up the next morning, Lucas had already made breakfast. He saw me open my phone. He frowned. "Why did you change your phone wallpaper? It used to be a photo of us together. Since I've decided to part ways with him, I'm going home to go on a blind date. Then I definitely won't continue using the old wallpaper." "Sophia, didn't you say you wanted to make DIY rings with me? I'm free today. It's Sunday." Lucas looked at me and said, "Just when I had nothing to do, on that Sunday, I did something meaningful with my favorite person. This is something I've always wanted to do. Finally completed it today." But I had already lost interest. While making the ring, Lucas was particularly serious, but I wasn't really in the mood. I just wanted to get this annoying task over with. Lucas asked me which style I liked while holding his phone. I casually pointed to one. He could see that I was just going through the motions. He asked a bit unhappily, "Why are you being so casual? Didn't you mention several times that you wanted to make DIY rings together?" I was just about to speak. Lucas's phone rang. He stood up and went out to take the call. I finished making the ring. He hasn't come back yet. The waiter looked at me a bit awkwardly. I put the ring on my ring finger. I paid with my phone. Lucas and Emily, who is wearing a mask, are outside playing claw machines. Emily is holding several stuffed toys in her arms. She looks at Lucas with admiration and says, "Lucas, you are really amazing. I tried so many times and couldn't catch any." She smiles so wide that her eyes are slanted. Lucas's face turns slightly red. Emily suddenly leans closer. She stands on her tiptoes, gently pulls down her mask, quickly kisses the corner of his mouth. Then, she stands up straight. Blushing, she looks at Lucas. Lucas looks at Emily. His gaze becomes increasingly gentle. When he sees me, his expression turns cold again. "Sophia, you came too. Did you come with Lucas?" she says happily, suddenly as if remembering something. "Sophia, I didn't mean to. Don't mind me." Lucas gently patted Emily's head. He turned and shot me a cold glance. "What's the big deal? It's just a little bump. Is it necessary to be this petty?" The ring was ready so quickly. He reached out for his ring from me. I looked at him coldly. I threw it away a long time ago. He glared at me impatiently. I was about to speak. Emily was recognized by the fans. A large crowd of fans rushed over. He quickly stood in front of Emily and took her away. I was left standing alone, watching him carefully protect Emily as they walked further away. 3 hours later, I left the company. I got on the high-speed train. My phone suddenly vibrated. I took a look. It was a call from Lucas. I hung up the phone. I told him we were done. Then I deleted all his contact information. The next morning at 7, I got off the high-speed train. My dad is waiting for me outside the station. The autumn mornings in New York are a bit cold. He stood there looking around. After getting in the car, he started nagging me about why I didn't wear more clothes. I listened to my dad's concerned words. My eyes immediately turned red. "Dad, this time I'm back. I won't leave again." Dad looked at me. He almost said something but swallowed it back. I guess he wanted to ask me what happened with Lucas, but he ultimately didn't say anything. He just sighed. I went back alone again. I felt quite unsettled inside. How could my dad not understand? After getting home, I chatted with my mom and grandma for a long time. By the time I finished showering and got into bed, it was already 11:30. A colleague from the company suddenly messaged me. She asked me why I resigned and returned home. I replied, "New York just isn't suitable for me after all." I chatted with her for a long time. Then she suddenly asked me, "Do you know that Lucas released a statement today explaining his relationship with Emily?" I asked, "What happened?" She said, "Just check Weibo yourself." I didn't want to look at it. After all, we have broken up. I don't want to know anything about Lucas anymore. But I heard this is causing quite a stir in New York. Even colleagues are discussing it. I opened Weibo. Lucas posted on Weibo saying he has no special relationship with Emily. Emily also quickly posted on Weibo, explaining that they are just very good friends. Some fans ran to Lucas's comment section, accusing him of being irresponsible towards Emily, calling him a jerk. Soon, Lucas's comment section was drowned in insults. Then, someone revealed more information in the comments. During this time, Lucas and Emily have been in contact. But actually, Lucas already had a girlfriend at that time. Once the news spread, many netizens went to message them, accusing them of inappropriate behavior. Emily's fans still stand by her, and she directly posted a statement on Weibo. She stated that the person who feels unloved is the third party, and emphasized that she and Lucas were sincere with each other during that time. She hopes you all stop concerning yourselves with her and Lucas's matters. Emily has been criticized once again. I exited the app after seeing this. Look at Lucas's personality. The two probably had a fight. In a couple of days, Lucas will definitely delete those Weibo posts, and then he will sweet talk Emily. Lucas has always cared about Emily. How could he let her feel wronged? A colleague told me, Emily has already changed jobs. I wish her all the best in the future, and may her career flourish. She is one of my few friends in New York. A week after returning home, I attended a class reunion. My closest classmate from high school was particularly surprised to see me. She asked me why I looked so good. I said it's because there's nothing at home to bother me. When I'm in a good mood, my health naturally improves. The skin is certainly nice too. My high school classmates are all talking about the past few years. Occasionally, they mention the old days. At that moment, suddenly, someone added me on WeChat. His WeChat profile picture and nickname are both default. He might have added the wrong person. I didn't think much of it. I directly rejected the request. Then I continued chatting with my classmates. I had just been home for half an hour. Someone knocked on the door. It might be the stuff I ordered online. I went to open the door to get the package. This delivery was really fast. Wasn't there a long delay just now? Seeing the person outside the door, I immediately shut my mouth. It turned out to be Lucas. I made up my mind to break up with him. From that moment on, I never wanted to see him again. I quickly closed the door. He guessed that I would close the door. He immediately reached out his hand. The veins on his hand were bulging. He pushed hard against the door. He stared at me. The look in his eyes is hard to decipher. Sophia, why haven't you added me as a friend? When he looked at me, his eyes were dark and deep. I looked at his face. Suddenly, he laughed. Since we've broken up, why do you still want to send me a friend request? I spoke word by word. Upon hearing me say this, Lucas couldn't help but laugh. He snorted. There was a hint of arrogance in his gaze. Looking at me, he said, "Break up, Sophia. I haven't agreed to break up yet." When he said this, I thought he hadn't seen my breakup message. But then I realized, that's not right. I clearly said we were breaking up before blocking him. We've broken up. What do you want from me now? I looked at Lucas's displeased expression. I swallowed my words back. His hand was still propped against the door. I impatiently said to him, "We've already broken up. Can't you understand? Anne, you came to my house now, blocking my door. This is already considered harassment. I'm really not happy. It's been a few days since we last met." How could he not even understand what I'm saying? He had a stern look on his face. He gritted his teeth and said to me, "Sophia, I don't agree to break up. It's just that I've been getting closer to Emily. You insist on making this a breakup." I couldn't help but laugh out loud. We've been in a relationship for 5 years. Only after breaking up did I realize how unreasonable he is. Mom sat on the sofa and asked me, "Who are you talking to?" "No one. I'm on the phone with a friend." "Mom, a friend invited me to dinner. Don't make my meal for lunch," I quickly replied, hurriedly pushing Lucas into the elevator. "If you need anything, just contact me directly. Don't let my parents know." I took Lucas to a small restaurant quite far from home. He frowned. He seemed a bit dissatisfied. I naturally sat down. He didn't say much given the situation. He sat down across from me. He casually found a topic to talk about. He said my manicure really suits you. Seeing that I wasn't responding, he spoke first. That man who usually doesn't like to talk to me. Now he took the initiative to find a topic. Lucas doesn't like me wearing nail polish. He said that instead of this, I should handle more work, to avoid upsetting him. I enjoy doing my nails with good friends, but I endured for 5 years without doing them because of him. He knows I love doing my nails. He had promised to accompany me to do them when he had time. In the end, we never went even once. The boss's wife smiled and asked what we wanted to eat. I ordered 2 bowls of noodles. The noodles were served. Lucas didn't touch his chopsticks. He just frowned at me. He said, "Sophia, you should eat a little less to fill your stomach first. I'll make you something delicious when I get home tonight." I laughed so hard I started coughing. Lucas, we don't have a home together. Get it straight. We're just in a romantic relationship. We're not at the marriage stage yet. Lucas looked a bit displeased. Fortunately, we didn't get married. Otherwise, we'd have to wait a month for a divorce. I continued speaking. He stared at me, then suddenly laughed. "Sophia, what new trick are you trying to use to get my attention now? After all, don't you just want to marry me? We've been together for 5 years. It is indeed time to get married. But after we get married, you can't be as willful as you are now. You can't just threaten to break up and go back to your parents' place." He looked at me, with a tone that suggested it was a matter of course. His eyes held an arrogance that seemed to see through everything. I sighed. I pulled up some chat records with my matchmaker. Handed it to him to take a look. Lucas took a glance. His expression changed immediately. He always has double standards for himself and others. He can maintain ambiguous relationships with many girls. He doesn't let me talk to other guys. I smiled at him. I said calmly, "Lucas, I know you care about your image. How about this? I'll tell others that you dumped me. This should work, right?" I waited for his response. Lucas's lips were pressed tightly together. His eyes were fixed on me. I really couldn't wait any longer. I stood up, ready to leave. He grabbed my hand, not letting me leave. "Are you out of your mind? This is not allowed. That is not allowed. What do you want, exactly?" I suddenly got angry. I shouted at him. He was momentarily taken aback. For the first time, he flusteredly said to me, "Don't leave just yet. Is it because I've been focusing on work lately and neglected you? I'm sorry to have upset you. About that blind date. You only talked for a few moments. I'm not bothered by it. Sophia, if you come home with me tonight, this matter will be forgotten." He added softly, "Sophia, I really want to eat the plum blossom cake you made." He grabbed my arm. His voice was low. If he hadn't mentioned the plum blossom cake, I almost forgot about that. 3 months ago, Lucas messaged me saying he wanted to try the plum blossom cake. At that time, I was in bed with a high fever. After seeing his message, I still got up with difficulty. Enduring a splitting headache, I made him the plum blossom cake. When I weakly arrived at the film set where Lucas was shooting, I happened to see him walking out with Emily. Emily saw the lunchbox in my hand and happily said, "Thank you, Sister Sophia. Many people say I can't make plum blossom cake. Now I can prove it to them." Emily turned around and took the plum cake outside, showing off in front of the fans. Lucas saw Emily sharing the plum cake I made with the fans. He turned to me and said, "I have to accompany Emily for filming later. Remember to clean up the trash nearby." Thinking of this, I stared at the man in front of me. "Speak slowly, Lucas. What makes you think I would go with you? Where are my parents? My home is right there. Besides, don't mention marrying you. After all, we have already broken up." Lucas stared at me blankly. After a long time, he finally spoke. "Sophia, it's been less than 2 weeks since we broke up. I don't believe you can move on so quickly. We were together for 5 years. Even raising a pet would develop feelings." The louder he spoke, the more agitated he seemed. "Everyone in the restaurant is looking at us." I sit down, rubbing my temples. I'm feeling very troubled. "Lucas, I really don't understand. You no longer like me. You think I'm unnecessary. You like Emily so much. When she diets, You learn to cook. You want to buy her everything. You've gone this far. Why won't you admit that you like her, while casually treating my feelings? And yet you say you truly like me. Lucas, is this interesting to you? We've been together for years. I always speak to him softly. Now I can be completely open in front of him. I say whatever I want to say. His expression has slowly changed from confidence to being at a loss. After a long time, he says in a somewhat hoarse voice, Sophia, you got it wrong. Emily and I are just friends. She was my companion when I was a child. I always regarded her as my little sister. Later, her family moved away. I haven't seen her since, until she became a star. That's when I recognized her as my childhood friend. I know you think I'm just making this up, but I'm telling the truth. He anxiously defended himself. He finished speaking. He was afraid I wouldn't believe him. He quickly took out his phone and pulled up a childhood photo of him and Emily. He stubbornly looked at me. His eyes were starting to panic. I glanced at the photo and whispered, Lucas, even without Emily, we wouldn't have made it to the end. After I finished speaking, I left the small restaurant. Lucas was unwilling to accept it. He chased after me and grabbed my arm. The wind was cold. He stared at me. His eyes looked very sad. Sophia, I don't believe that our 5 years of relationship could just end like that. Do you remember what you said to me on our 1-year anniversary? You said you wanted to be with me forever. He looked at me with anticipation. I coldly pulled my hand back. Lucas, not loving you means not loving you. How many times do you want me to say it? That was just something I said casually. You took it seriously. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Lucas's face turned pale. He let go of my hand. He lowered his head. He said hoarsely, Sophia, do you believe it? I can do well without you. After saying that, he turned around and left with red eyes. While messaging his secretary to come pick him up, he finally left. I felt much more at ease inside. It has been 2 weeks now. I'm working a clerical job in my hometown. I work from 9 to 5 every day. When I get home, I can enjoy the hot meals prepared by my parents. Sometimes I have dinner with my blind date, Ethan, but as time goes by, I always feel like someone is secretly watching me. Maybe it's because I've been staying up late lately. My eyes are getting blurry. A week later, my best friend invited me and Ethan to dinner. After dinner, my best friend had something to attend to and left early. Ethan and I went back together. On the way, Ethan told me some interesting stories he encountered recently. I wasn't paying attention. I almost fell down the stairs. Ethan quickly reached out to try to grab me, but he still didn't make it in time. I didn't feel the pain that was supposed to come. I fell into a familiar scent of wood. It was Lucas. I was a bit surprised. Isn't he supposed to be in New York right now? How did he end up in New York? I quickly moved away from his embrace. Lucas looked at me coldly. Sophia, it's been almost a month. Are you still angry? As he spoke, he pulled me back into his embrace again, provocatively looked at Ethan. I struggled to break free, just came out of his embrace. Emily appeared wearing a mask. She was holding a cup of coffee, gave me a cold glance, rolled her eyes at me, then smiled and ran in front of me. Feigning surprise, she said, Big sister Sophia, don't be angry with brother Lucas anymore. He hasn't eaten or slept for a month. Staying in a hotel for a month. He goes to your company every day. Brother Lucas and I are just good friends. Big sister, please don't be angry. Forgive him, please. My expression softened a bit. Lucas was very happy. He was about to come over and hold my hand with Emily. Suddenly, both of them were stunned. I snatched the coffee from Emily's hand, opened the lid and poured it directly over her head. Emily screamed for me to stop. There weren't many people on the street. Occasionally, a few people passed by. Stop and watch the excitement. Emily's mask got wet with coffee. She glared at me fiercely. Her gaze was as if she wanted to eat me alive. It's not over yet, I said with a cold laugh. Emily, what right do you have to look down on me? What have I done to provoke you? You just rolled your eyes at me. If your eyes are uncomfortable, then go see a doctor quickly. I threw the paper cup at Emily's feet and stomped on it hard. She was shocked and froze. I yanked her from behind Lucas. Raise your hand. I slapped her several times hard. Emily cried with tears streaming down her face. Lucas clicked his tongue impatiently beside us. He seemed a bit impatient. After I vented my emotions, I pushed Emily towards Lucas. He quickly dodged to my side. Emily knelt on the ground. Her cries were intermittent. Listening to it was heart-wrenching. She looked at Lucas with red eyes. Lucas didn't even glance at her. He quickly walked up to me. He said urgently, "Sophia, I've already made it clear with Emily. We are just ordinary friends. When you're unhappy, you can hit or scold me. Just don't mention breaking up." He anxiously grabbed my hand, wanting to take me away. Ethan walked over. He stood between me and Lucas. "This gentleman, Sophia, doesn't seem to agree to go with you." His voice was cold. He spoke neither fast nor slow. Lucas sneered for a moment. His gaze was filled with contempt. He suddenly stood up. Without saying a word, he swung his fist at Ethan. Ethan took a hit hard. Silently, he pulled me aside. Then he turned back. He punched Lucas again. The two of them were locked in a fierce fight. I pulled Ethan away with all my strength. Lucas looked at me happily, talking harshly to Ethan. "Don't you dare touch her." He hasn't finished speaking. I used all my strength to slap him. "Lucas, you leave. Don't let me see you again." Lucas was stunned by my slap. He stood there dazed. He seemed a bit taken aback. I used to like him so much. Whatever he wanted to eat, I would make it in different styles for him. Even when we argued, I would be the first to back down. Even when I found out he was unclear with others, I still couldn't bear to break up. Sophia chose to endure. Friends all said that Sophia deeply loved Lucas. Lucas thought so too. If I didn't love him, why would I still be with him? He always felt that I wouldn't bring up breaking up. He understood my feelings. That's why he kept testing my limits of tolerance. He saw me gently hold Ethan's hand in pain, and lightly blew on it. He whispered that he was foolish, fighting for someone unworthy. Lucas really couldn't hold on any longer. His eyes were red. His voice carried bitterness. "Sophia, we've been together for 5 years. Exactly 5 years. You're so concerned about this man now. I'm your boyfriend. I've really had enough. Lucas, don't you understand? We've already broken up. Your matters have nothing to do with me." I grabbed Ethan's hand and turned to leave. Lucas curled up on the ground, hands on his head, looking distressed. He grabbed my pant leg tightly. He looked up. Teardrops fell continuously, pitifully begging me, "Sophia, I was wrong. I shouldn't have hit him. I shouldn't have forced you to come with me. It's all my fault. I have no interest in Emily. She took the initiative to provoke me. It has nothing to do with me." He was explaining in a panic. Emily looked at him in surprise. Her eyes were filled with sadness. Just about to speak, Lucas suddenly stood up. He forcefully pushed her to the ground. "I'm going to blacklist Emily right now. Is that okay? As long as you're happy, that's all that matters." He looked at me nervously. I silently took Ethan back. Lucas didn't contact me again after that. 2 months later, I heard news about him from a friend. After he returned, he made it so Emily couldn't get a job. Lucas was exposed for cheating. It was also made public that Emily intervened knowing he had a partner. This incident had a huge impact on Lucas's company. Emily also lost everything because of it. She just couldn't hold back. In the middle of the night, she injured Lucas. He was seriously hurt. As a result, one was taken away to serve time in prison. Another one hasn't woken up in the hospital. I'm looking at these messages in the living room. Ethan walked out of the kitchen wearing an apron. He asked me, "What are you looking at? So serious?" I said it's nothing. He raised an eyebrow at me. He asked if I wanted to try the new dish he made. His hand naturally held mine, leading me into the kitchen. "It smells so good." I sincerely praised his cooking skills. It started to snow lightly while we were shopping in the mall. Ethan naturally held my hand. His palm was large and warm. It completely enveloped my hand. I felt a warmth in my heart. Back home, my mom urged me and Ethan to get married soon. Ethan was sitting on my family's sofa. Upon hearing this, my face turned red all of a sudden. "There's no rush, Auntie. Sophia and I want to take our time, he said softly. Look at the tenderness in my eyes. 6 months later, I married Ethan. When the officiant asked if he was willing to marry me, he blushed, but he answered very decisively, I do. He smiled at me. His ears were a bit red. I smiled back at him. No matter how difficult or far, I want to walk with you.